Peace, YouTube. This is Sean Young, also known as Supreme, with another episode of Adventures in Wholesaling. And guys, on this episode, I'm going to show you guys how to get more deals done in less time. Guaranteed. See you guys in a second.
Cool. So let's go ahead and get started. We've got a great panel tonight for our live deal finding session and in training. We've got Sean Young with us here from Atlanta, and Natalie Peralta is with us from Chicago. And I thought it would be really cool tonight to show real estate investing from a few different perspectives. You know, myself coming from kind of an investor technology and real estate background, Sean having his wholesale background. He is a mentor and a coach. And Natalie is a real estate agent in the Chicago area. So I thought it'd be really cool to kind of have these different perspectives brought in so that we can get a sense of, you know, where you fit and where your business model fits in the whole scheme of things. And, you know, before we jumped on, I was just talking to Natalie about, you know, the weird relationship between wholesalers and agents and how that thing's playing out. She's got some good perspectives on that. So she's going to be jumping on here real quickly. She's just helping a few of her people get into the meeting. And if you've got questions or if you've got feedback, feel free to drop those in the chat. I'm going to try to get to those toward the end of the presentation, but make sure you put them in there so we don't miss them, okay? And one of the things, there you are. You're muted, Natalie.
There we go.
Gotcha.
Should be good.
Cool, thanks. Did you get your people set up?
I did. We should be
all right. Cool. So, you know, with COVID coming in and with, you know, winter being here now, it's basically right around the corner. And just with technology changing, like a lot of people aren't really convinced that you can do business virtually. And, you know, that's being proven wrong every single day. And what's weird about, you know, what we've been doing for a long time with Privy is that, you know, we have been able to actually be ahead of the wave, right? And so we're doing a lot of cool stuff that was already pre-set up pre-COVID. And I brought, you know, Natalie here to have the agent perspective. You know, how do you think this doing deals virtually has changed your business, Natalie, as an investor-focused agent in Chicago?
Well, thankful I met you and I have Privy, so it didn't change too much. Still killing the game. But it definitely has changed for quite a few of the people in my office. And it always, of course, directly affects me because most people are not used to doing things virtually. Mm-hmm. I've always, like I told you, I've always been pretty wholesale friendly because I feel that sometimes when you're working with agents, especially in a competitive market, it gets really just bombarded. And if you're working with a wholesaler, they're going to go really hard for that deal because they want that business from you. And so I can appreciate working with that kind of like the underdog versus, you know, the champ who's just used to getting business from referrals and cousins and family. So it's been good for me.
Yeah. So and a lot of your business is virtual anyway, right? Like a lot of your clients have never set foot in Chicago.
Yeah. 90% of our clients are actually in other states.
That's awesome. And so, you know, just for those of you that are thinking about investing outside of your state, it can absolutely be done. Natalie does it every day with her clients. And, you know, Sean, you're in Atlanta and, you know, for a long time you were, you know, doing kind of the off market scenario, but have you done virtual deals before in other markets?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually doing deals in about 7 other states currently, or I've done deals in 7 other states. We're currently active in 3 states outside of Georgia. So yeah, absolutely. Virtual is definitely the way to go. Once you figure out how to do what you do in your market, then I would definitely suggest go virtual. Or if you even want to start off virtual, now is definitely the time to do that with a tool like Privy.
Yeah, and in the past, you know, it probably would have been impossible to do it because you would have had to rely 100% on the eyes of somebody on the ground in the market you're targeting. But now with data and the way the technology is and being able to do stuff virtually, you have all that data at your fingertips. You can make really good data-driven decisions and feel comfortable about it. Not, you know, making sure everything's done really conservatively. I know a lot of people who don't have good numbers. They don't have access to MLS, or they're getting comps off of Zillow. What they end up doing is putting in really conservative offers, lowball, because they're not 100% sure. So what ends up happening there is that they submit a lot of lowball offers that don't get accepted, or the opposite, which is they just don't pursue a deal because they think the margins are too thin, or they don't see the numbers. So there's like double problems there. So part of what we were trying to solve with Privy is to make sure we're getting access to MLS data to all of our users. So whether you're doing fix and flips, or you're wholesaling, you're doing buy and hold, or you're an agent or a lender, this data is key for you to be able to determine an accurate ARV. Is what drives everything that we do. And if your AR after repair value is off just 5% in either direction, that's the difference between you making and losing money, or submitting a bad offer, or passing up on a deal that would have made perfect sense, but you just didn't know the right numbers, right? So with this kind of scenario, now you can create additional deal flow. You're going to be confident in your numbers when you submit your offers, and then you'll be able to really understand, where you should be investing. And when we get into the demo, I'm going to show you what's the most important thing in my mind now that data is involved is what's called investor activity. Not investing in areas that are convenient to you, or that are familiar, or are close to you. And this is what a lot of investors end up doing, because we only have so many hours in the day, and it's a lot of work to drive all the way across town when you just got off of a 10-hour day, and the last thing you want to do is do your business. So you drive around the neighborhood, right, hoping you're going to find something. But if you're not in an area that's hot, and hot meaning, and again, that can mean a lot of different things, where a lot of investors are doing deals, then you won't have the comps to prove ARV. And then that means you're going to get into some deals you shouldn't be in. And everybody here who's ever done a wholesale deal knows what it's like to, finally get that deal. You get under contract, you're all excited, and then you put it out there to the buyer's list, and chirps, right? No one's biting. And it's because you didn't do the initial research. So when you have this investor activity at your fingertips, you can see what's working on the ground, what people are buying properties for, what they're selling them for, what kind of construction is adequate for the neighborhood. And you have all that before and after data, so that you can make a better decision for yourself if you're doing the deal you're on your own, or for your buyers. And what they can leverage that data to make a better decision. Now, Natalie, with the MLS, you've got the MLS, right? You're an agent.
I do.
I mean, what is it like to go and search for deals and pull comparables and do all that as an agent? What is that experience like for you?
It's like waiting for paint to dry sometimes, because you have an older system, right? So imagine you're going into the DMV to get your license, but you're trying to find a property. So they have to go through all these like 20 different steps, and then they tell you to get your picture taken for your license. It's very similar with the MLS. They haven't changed in hundreds, I guess, of years. I don't know. But the thing is, if you're going through the steps, it literally takes 20 minutes to get a comparable market report. And by the time you have that report and you get it to the client and they look at it, it's about 22 pages long, a lot of information they don't understand how to break down. It doesn't have, the other comparables that you can actually just click on, like in Privy, which is why I feel so spoiled, because you just are able to compare, like, okay, well, if I want to do a fix and flip, this is what it would sell for. This is the finishes I need to have. And that, to me, you can't compare. It's awful trying to do that in the MLS. It does not have that technology. You're able to see photographs and bad photographs that the agents usually take, because we're not professional photographers, we're agents. So right. You're looking at these photos. Some of them are sideways, some of them are blurry.
Oh gosh, I know.
And then, of course, you have newer investors who are coming to the market, and they have all these different labels. I had told someone in my investment group today, he's like, what does, REACT mean? And I said, okay, so that was off the market, then they reactivate it. And he's like, what does SS mean? I was like, well, that one's pending. It's just all these different things that are unnecessary that just take time to learn.
Right.
And it makes it more difficult for you to just see what you need to focus on and how you need to get into that.
Right. And that's even being an agent and having access to it. I, I, I think about how the average investor feels when they're trying to do what you're doing, but without the data, right? And now they're even at a lower level, right? They're even at a bigger disadvantage than you are. And this is why, I mean, investors are entrepreneurs, right? What we do is we hack situations, we figure out solutions. And so the next best thing for an investor who's trying to determine value of a home is just to go to Zillow. Or I was just on a thing with South Atlanta RIA a couple 30 minutes ago, and there were two people on there that were thinking about getting licensed just so they could get access to MLS. It was just a huge waste of time, right? And so with
Right.
Privy, you're getting
Horrible.
that level of access. But what we also do is we introduce you to investor focused agents that can help you when you find those amazing deals. And again, whether you're going to fix and flip, or if you're going to wholesale it, or whatever your exit strategy is, you've got a team that can help you do this. And we've put a lot of effort into trying to find good agents that can help you with that. And Sean, on this scenario here, we're talking about looking at MLS stuff, but for years you were focused on kind of off market, right?
Absolutely.
And so, but it's worked for you. But what are the challenges in your mind when it comes to off market deals?
Well, some of the big challenges are just gathering data. I mean, and gathering information and the time that it takes. Similar to what Natalie said, to be able to sift through a lot of that information. Let's say, for instance, a lot of folks say, well, go down to the county and ask for a delinquent tax list, or ask for a code violation list.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some counties don't even call it that, for one. And if you do get it, they might give it to you in a disc format, like a CD. And most folks don't know what to do with that. It's a complex process to get good information on the owners, to get good information on who's on title, all those things that are hard to get. That those are some of the challenges. It's especially hard to figure out how to go about reaching folks if you don't do some of these hard tasks. Using
Right.
Privy, you're able to go right in, see the data, see who's bought, who's sold, and then it cuts things down a whole lot, based upon how I used to do things.
Right. Yeah. And what's interesting about that is that, a lot of people who come into this business, they come in thinking they're going to be a real estate investor, but then they're surprised to learn that, no, I'm yes, I'm going to do real estate, but I'm wearing a bunch of other hats, right? So I'm a private
Exactly.
investigator, right? Because
A
I'm doing skip
marketer.
tracing. You're a marketer because you have to put together all these campaigns and you have to understand, all the marketing aspects. You're a salesperson, right? Because you're on the phone and you're cold calling and you're talking to people. You're a therapist because someone's getting ready to lose their house and you have to build rapport with them. And the best way to do that is to empathize, right? And so now you're talking to people who are in really bad situations, who don't want to talk to you. And a new person who is trying to learn this business, it's just completely overwhelming. And this is why so many investors on the front end of a career, or maybe not yet a career, but a side hustle, they burn out because they've got 3 to 4 months, you guys, 3 to 4 months for you to figure it out and get your deal done before it's time to move on, right? Your family's like, are you going to do a deal already? You poured, $3,000 into some education, you bought business cards, you got a website. Like, we can't keep paying this money out unless you close a deal. And then pretty soon people start falling out, right? Because they just can't cut it. So there's some other ways to do it. And I'm not saying this isn't worth doing, because there's some benefits to doing off market. Like, you can talk to sellers directly. You can come up with creative deal structures. You can find win-win scenarios. And oftentimes one of the best things that happens here is you actually get to help people. Like, there's people here that are losing their homes where you can literally find a solution for them. And maybe the best solution is giving them, cash for keys, give them $1,000 so they can go find another place to live. Or maybe you actually can help them do a forbearance, maybe cure a foreclosure. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. And that's some of the best experiences I've had working with those scenarios, is when you can actually help somebody and you don't get the house, right? They just end up staying the way they are. And that's the cool part of it. If you if you approach this scenario from a place of wanting to help people, you're going to miss out on some deals, but boy, it comes around. That's the karma bug, right?
100%.
Go into it wanting to help people. And this is, I mean, there's a bunch of different scenarios here, right? And we could go all day on off market because there's tons of scenarios here. But what I want people to start thinking about is there's ways to find on market deals. And some of the benefits of on market is that you know what the seller wants the property, what they want to sell it for. You know they're motivated. You know exactly how to submit the offer. The agent does 99% of the work for you, right? If you just call Natalie and say, "Hey, Natalie, I want to submit an offer," and she writes it up. She makes sure that the numbers look good. You guys can have some powwow and make sure that everything looks right and fits your business model. And then she's going to make sure that all of the dates and deadlines are recognized and followed, because there's a lot of contingencies in a contract that allow you to make sure that you are protected. And if you're wholesaling, you've got a time period there. Typically, it's about 10 to 15 days, but it's typically in the inspection period if you're doing on-market wholesaling. But you also have to have a way of transferring that if you're doing a wholesale. So you have to have an assignment clause, or you have to have an entity that you can transfer control of to get to the end buyer. But it's absolutely doable. People are doing them every single day all across the country. But some of the negatives that people talk about, and Sean, I mean, actually both of you, like there can be competition for on-market deals, right? Like people are seeing them, they're on the internet and people are looking at them. Like what's the competition like in your mind, Sean, when you're looking at off-market versus on-market? I mean, and there's competition on both sides, right?
Listen, there's a ton of competition, especially if you're buying these off-market lists, because everyone's buying them. Everyone is siphoning through the same list, sending out the same postcards, calling these same folks. So it's like you're just kind of chasing your tail. You might catch it every now and then, but for the most part, you spend a lot of your time just chasing. So with the process that you've just described, it's a totally different process. It's more targeted and aimed, and I'll let you pick up from that point.
Yeah, it is. And so, with Chicago's a competitive market, Natalie, right? And so people are doing some deals there. But I mean, every time I talk to you, you've got a closing going on. So, I mean, people are doing deals, right? And how many deals have we found live in our sessions the last few months? I mean, we've found dozens of deals live. And how many have closed?
So 6 have closed out of the dozens that we've seen. And the people who are closing are the ones who show up to the calls. Because it can be overwhelming looking through that information on your own. And when you're surrounded by like-minded, passionate education, individuals that enjoy teaching and helping you learn, it's easy for you to enjoy the hunt. Sometimes it gets lonely, sitting at your post waiting for that buck to come. And so it's really nice to have these and, be able to interact.
Absolutely. And that's, what the cool part about these deal finding sessions is we actually find deals live, but it's also a great way to kind of learn and see how other people approach the business. Because not everybody does it the same way. And so let's jump into a little bit of a demo here. So this is the Privy system, and Privy is a web-based application. You can access it from any device that has an internet connection. We just launched a new mobile optimized version of Privy that you can use on your phone if you're in the field, if you want to run comps on properties or look where the investor activity is and do some more targeted driving for dollars. But as you can see here, we're currently doing business in 20 different states. So starting, just to give you kind of a taste of what's coming, starting in January, potentially February, depending upon delays, we're going to be launching nationwide. So if you are interested in doing deals in Nebraska or Utah or New Mexico or Maine, we're going to have access to the whole U.S. and we're going to have MLS access in all the major cities. So when you look at a map, you can see all the major cities, all the capitals and the major thoroughfares. We're going to have that for you as well. But one of the most exciting thing for us is even though, there are pros and cons of off market, we're going to be bringing in off market data so that you have access to some of these, people who need help that potentially you could get in there and help them and may sometimes get some deals, right? So divorces, vacancies, absentee owners, bankruptcies, liens, short sales, all the different statuses of foreclosures. And then we're also going to have owner information and mortgage information so that you can, help to track down some of these people, but also build your buyers list, right? So one of the cool things about owner information is that we can leverage our investor activity to show you all the cash buyers, all the fix and flippers in the market, and then you know exactly who they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for this investor activity. I'm going to use our filter. It's called fix and flip. It doesn't mean you have to fix and flip it. This is just how we look for deals. But we're going to look for sold properties first, right? So I'm going to look for single family attached homes that have sold in the past 12 months. I'm going to sort by sold date. And now this is going to flash, and this is a heat map. So red are the hottest areas, blue are the coldest, fewest matches, and then these areas in between we're not here yet. But like I said, in 2021, in Q1, we're going to be in all these areas. But let's zoom in a little bit more here. And now we're going to start to see numbers. So this really starts to tell the story, right? Visually, you got a good sense with the colors, but now we can see, in Minneapolis, St. Paul, there's not a ton of activity going on up here. And if you only saw that by itself, it might not tell you a story, but when you compare it to what's going on in Chicago, you realize, oh my gosh, like this area of Chicago is a hot area to do deals in. And this is why so many people are investing in Chicago, and why Natalie's clients are reaching out to her, because there's, deeply discounted properties at a reasonable rate in, parts of town that have really good, solid, home construction, and and it's working for them, right? So Indianapolis is a decent area. Down in Sean's neck of the woods in Atlanta, we're starting to see more activity down here. Atlanta's doing pretty well. The Northeast, Philadelphia, Baltimore, are pretty hot. But look at where one of the hottest areas in the U.S. is, right down here. Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater. A lot of stuff going on here. Now, once we get that national data set, you're going to be able to compare every major city to each other and then run filters on those to find where you should be investing. And if you happen to be in an area like Nashville, which is pretty competitive right now, and if you happen to be here, well, look for deals in Atlanta. Look for deals over here in Charlotte. I mean, but here's the funny thing about remote and virtual is, whether it's, you driving 2 hours and that's maybe virtual for you, or it's, investing in Philadelphia from LA, like once it's too far to drive, it doesn't matter how far it is, right? So at that point, you can do anything you want. Now, when you guys see this map here, and you could have a choice of where you would invest, like where would you guys choose? Like you're looking at the heat map and seeing the numbers. Is there areas here that you guys would want to go and check out? Because I know, Madeline, you've been talking about getting on the wholesale bandwagon for a while.
I definitely am. There's a couple areas that I've been looking at. A couple of us are going down to Houston just to look at some properties, and then North Carolina the week after that, just because, we take our weekends. People are like, oh, don't social distance and travel and things like that. And I said, well, I'm just going to go look at some vacant buildings. So be okay. Take the time while the flights are cheap.
Yeah.
Like it was round trip $52 to Houston.
Now, Sean, you mentioned there were 3 markets that you're active in. What are the other ones that you are looking at? Anything here that's in the Privy sector or
outside of Atlanta, Ohio, North Carolina, and a city in Macon, in Georgia called Macon as well. Macon, and of course, I'm looking into getting into the Florida market as well. That's the next on our target, which is that hot spot down there, that Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Now the sky's the limit. Like you really can do this from anywhere. You don't even have to leave your computer if you want. And you could just leverage and build teams, right? So like if you were interested in Chicago, right? Like here's we'll jump into the Chicago market here, and we can still get a sense of where these hot areas are at. So 702.
Oak Lawn.
Right?
It's crazy.
Right in that area. But see, what's interesting is the average investor would probably look for, for deals for where they live. So like if you lived in Burlington, The average person would drive for dollars in Burlington, or that's where they would do door hangers or knock on doors. Or if they got a foreclosure list from the county, they probably just pick the top one and just start calling down the list, right? Well, if you take a more strategic and targeted approach, it saves you a bunch of time, and it ends up making you a lot more money, because in areas like this where there's lots of investor activity, the ARVs are much higher. You got plenty of proof because you got good fix and flip comparables to prove that ARV. And you're going to get a lot more of your offers accepted because the values are driven by fix and flips. You don't have to throw in a bunch of lowball offers. There are amazing deals that you can get every day that are at 20, 30, 40% of ARV that would make amazing wholesale deals, fix and flips, even buy and hold if you're using the Burr approach. So what we do is we circle this to isolate it. And there's a few other hot areas in Chicago, but this is the hottest, right? We zoom in one more level here, and this is going to start to show us all the individual transactions that comprise this hot area. And, for some people who are beginning or people who are doing remote, it's really difficult to understand like what's happening on the ground, right? Mostly maybe you're relying on your agent to give you some direction on, where you should invest, or maybe somebody through RIA, says, oh, this is a hot area. And then, next thing you know, you're doing it because that's all you know. Well, now with data, you actually have the proof of where these deals are getting done. So here's one that just closed yesterday. Okay. And this shows, how up to date our data is. It was just closed sold for 220. It's 315 East 90th Street. And then every property that's opened up inside of Privy is automatically comped out. So you heard Natalie's story about the challenges of having to use the MLS to pull comps. Well, now you've got that same level of data, but the algorithm does all the comping for you in a fraction of a second. And you don't have to spend all of the manual time to do that. So here's all the real-time sold, under contract, pending, active comparables, as well as rental data. So if you're building a portfolio, or if you are a wholesaler and you have a buyer who's doing that, you can provide rental data to make sure you're getting to the appropriate cap rates and make sure that property makes sense from a cash flow perspective. But on this house here, we flagged this property as a deal back in September. And I just noticed that they had a ridiculously long construction period. Look at this, 382 days. They screwed something up there. I don't know if it was a permitting issue or if they got thrown in jail for a few months and they got out and went back to work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they picked this thing up for 110 grand, right? They sold it for 220. That's 50% exactly of ARV, right? That's a deal that you could have wholesaled, or this would make a great project for, for a wholesale or a sort of fix and flip or a Burr deal. And then also down here, we've got the street views. So you can virtually drive around these neighborhoods to inspect them before you spend any time writing offers out there. Like it's pretty important to make sure you're in a decent neighborhood, especially if it's a rental. If it's a fix and flip, not so much. I've had people tell me, well, I wouldn't live in that neighborhood. This is, there's high crime and there's XYZ. And then I say, well, look at all the fix and flip activity. These are all homes that people are buying. Maybe
Right.
It's a place that you wouldn't live, but maybe that's an upgrade from them from another bad part of town, right? And so if people are buying there, it doesn't matter what the crime rate is or what is happening in the economy. You just look at what's sold in the recent times, and then that drives it. So Natalie, you agreed with me enthusiastically. What about that is something you agree with?
So what I really I have to say is, doesn't matter what neighborhood it is. I go into challenging neighborhoods every day, and there's always someone looking for a place to live. There's always someone looking for a place to buy. Their grandmother's house is around the corner. They're trying to stay close to family. Police officers want to live close by their work, help be in the neighborhood, and it's interesting because you can't really tell too much from Google Earth sometimes when you're looking at a property. And so, to have the ability for me to see it and then compare the properties around it those pictures are pretty up to date. So even when I'm walking Google Earth, I can look right on Privy and see those photos and say, okay, this is live data. It was taken 6 days ago. So even if something on Google Earth was outdated, that photo is just as good. So
Right.
you're really walking the block, as accurately as possible, right? Because,
Yeah.
The human aspect, Google.
Yeah. It's key. It's absolutely key. And, you know, that kind of helps to subside some of people's, worries about where to invest. Just look at the sold comps. If people are doing fix and flips in that neighborhood, there's going to be, it'll be a trending area eventually. And you don't have to worry about, whether or not you will feel safe there because people are buying there all the time. I told you about the county, public record data that we just acquired. We've already started to implement it. And this house right here just sold, right? It just closed yesterday. And right here is the person that did the fix and flip, right? So Sean, we were talking about this yesterday about building a buyer's list and the challenges of building a buyer's list. But right here, we know somebody, a company that just closed on a property recently, and you better believe they're looking for something else, right? They're probably already looking. So here is a potential buyer. Right. So, I mean, from
Golden
a perspective of how
guys.
you
I
built
hope you caught that. I hope you guys are catching that.
That was a big one. Yeah.
I hope you guys really caught that. I mean, that's huge, guys. That's huge.
It is. And what's also interesting about this is we know their buy box, right? We know what area they're looking in. Exactly. We know what kind of property they're looking for. We know what price range they're looking for. We know what kind of construction they do. We talked about wearing different hats and being a private investigator. Well, here's more, right? You just learned a bunch about a company who's doing fix and flips, and they're looking for another one. And right down here, you've got their information. And while we were talking, I went over here and I actually just Googled this company. Here's their information. Boom. They're at 322 East 87th Place in Chicago. And sometimes you can have their phone number right here. Sometimes you have an email. Sometimes they have a website. But once you have that information, it's really easy to find them, especially if it's an LLC. When it's an individual, sometimes it's a little different. But look at this guy. Here's the principal of the company, right? Doing our research. Now this is a person you can contact if you find a property in this area. And we're going to find one here in a second that we can wholesale it to. So we're going to find a property from Mr. Allen in the same area that we just found this fix and flip. So what we've done, you guys, is we're basically reverse engineering the process of finding and analyzing deals. Instead of being lead driven and always looking at that shiny thing right in front of your face and chasing it, do a little bit of legwork, find the hot area, find the buyers, because we have all the buyers here from the public record data. And then you find the property here that will fit the needs of the people that are buying the properties here. These are all fix and flippers that need more deals. So I'm going to flip the switch on this. I'm going to go ahead and switch over from sold to active. And I'm going to lower this, right? Because if we're going to wholesale, we need a little bit better margin than that. So let's put 50% of ARV.
And guys, while he's doing that, what he just did on that dot, by clicking on one of those properties, he could do that for all of those red spots on the screen there, guys. So this is all just one area. So finding cash buyers or finding buyers in a particular market should be a piece of cake.
Yeah. And in the past, how did you build a buyer's list, right? You went to the local RIA and you collected business cards, and, maybe you are on Facebook and you're saying, hey, who's buying properties in Chicago? And a couple of people put their emails in there. This is like, these people are doing deals, right? And we all know this story, Sean. Tell me, this, where a person's like, yeah, I'm a buyer. And, they say they've got all these deep pockets. You send them a deal and they don't reply, or they're like, oh, I don't like it. I mean, I don't got time right now. It's like, everyone's a liar out there when it comes to like what they're willing to do.
Exactly.
Right. And then Natalie, it from the people who are working with you, who are like, yeah, I want to write an offer. I'm ready to get deals. And then you send them 5 deals and they won't pull the trigger. Like, what is that? Is that just fear? Are they just not?
It's fear. It's stage fright for sure. 100%.
And what helps with fear, and in my mind, is data. When you're confident with your numbers and you've got the data in front of you, you're much more confident about the decisions that you're going to make that could make or break you, right? So let's actually look for deals in this area where we have the supporting data that will prove ARV and give us the confidence that we need to pull the trigger. So I'm going to switch this over to days on market.
Okay.
And I'm going to look for anything came on the market this week. And now what's happening is Privy's going in and it's pulling comps on every single property in this area. And it's only showing us the ones that match our deal criteria. They're for sale for less than 150 grand. They're better than 50% of ARV and all these other filters. So let me zoom out just a tad here and we can see this whole area. So here's a property that just came on the market. It's 79.9. And we scroll down to below the table view here. The algorithm now has already identified the comparables. So we got rid of all the properties that are too big, too small, too far away. And we're only showing the comps that are based off of the major property characteristics, right? So it's similar square feet, it's the same number of stories, same area, all of that stuff has already been done for you. So we have a fix and flip right down the street that just closed for 224 grand. And we've got a bunch of other sales here that support an ARV that is much better than 50%. So let's just say, we were conservative and the ARV is 200, right? We can get it for 79.9, right? And by the way, this is a property that would just show up right in your inbox. Once you create and save a search, Privy monitors all these areas for you automatically, and then it sends you a property that matches your deal criteria every single day when those matches are found, but it's all done behind the scenes. 79.9 divided by 200,000. This thing's at 39% of ARV. You didn't have to skip trace or knock on anybody's door or, sit down at someone's kitchen table and talk about them losing their home. And, not everybody out there is a salesperson. Not everybody wants to get on the phone and try to convince somebody to do something when they're not even 100% convinced that they can do it, right? So this is a lot of time savings, and anyone can do it. You don't have to be a marketer. You don't have to be really experienced. Something like this, Sean, 39%, is this a deal you could wholesale?
100%. Absolutely.
So if you had this one, what kind of assignment fee would you put on it? If you could get it for basically 80 grand and it's worth 200,000?
A minimum of, at 39%, I'm putting at least, we're selling that thing for at least 99.
99. So easily. 20 grand?
Easily.
You'd put a $20,000 assignment fee on this. Easily. Wow. So then this is coming, you guys, from a professional wholesaler who teaches wholesaling, right? This is their belief. Now, this is on market, Sean. Like, does that cause problems for you as a wholesaler?
Yeah, if I don't know about it.
Right.
That's the problem.
I'm writing a contract for it right now.
Yeah, I see you over there, Natalie. I see you over there.
Like, all right, taking notes.
That is what's so cool about this. It's just like that, guys. It's exciting, really. I was smiling as I was watching Natalie kind of like writing stuff down, and I just in my brain, I'm like, yeah, this is her. This is where she's at. This is get it. That's what we're here. That's what we're here to do, guys.
Absolutely. So for those of you, this is you guys better hurry because Natalie's writing a contract. 11326 South Union Avenue. But let's say you are going to wholesale it, right? So let's say you say you like it, right, Sean? You email it to Natalie. Say, Natalie, I want to write an offer on this thing. Natalie takes it, and what's the point from there? That point forward, Natalie. Like if someone wanted to send you an offer, what's next?
So am I representing the seller or the buyer?
The buyer.
Let's say I called you. Let's say it was me, and I called you. I was like, hey, Natalie, yeah, I got this hot deal at Emerald Avenue.
Sure. I'm going to say, send me a contract.
Right. Well, you're going to write the contract up, right, for him.
Depends. So in Chicago, I work with, again, I'm a very friendly wholesaler investor agent. So I work directly with attorneys who are familiar with assignment contracts,
okay.
Quit claim deeds and things of that nature. So I would probably offer him that. But if he asked me to write up a contract, then I would absolutely take a 7.0 contract and write, see addendum attached and then attach a, assignment at the end of it, so he gets his fee, and then the double closing, I'd work with the attorneys on that end.
Awesome. But then at that point, what's under contract, Sean, now you have to market this deal, right? So
Absolutely.
what would you do to put this thing together? I mean, we've got the sharing link right here, right? So we
Mm,
can share with them the live CMA. You can send it to your buyers list, and it has all the comparables already there. And then you could highlight, the fix and flip down the street. Like, how helpful is this information to a buyer when you're marketing a deal?
It makes it a huge no-brainer for them, because they're going to spend less effort on doing their due diligence, even though they're still going to do their due diligence. But when you're providing them data, like, it's like the numbers don't lie. I mean, this is data. This is visual data on before and afters. They're getting to see exactly what the environment's looking like. They probably already have a good idea as well. So once you're able to show that, man, my data is going to be solid, you're going to be somebody that they're going to look to for future deals for sure.
Oh yeah, it makes you look more professional, right? And
100%.
wholesalers are notorious for not looking professional, right? In how they market their deals. And this is why, Natalie, a lot of agents don't like to work with wholesalers, because they got a bad rap, right? A bunch of people are out there messing it up for everybody.
And,
right.
and you said a key thing, Benson, earlier, which is that 3 to 4 month runway. I mean, most folks are just getting in it, and they're in it and out so quickly, and then they're like, what was wholesaling a year from that point? They don't even remember. But while they
Right.
were in it, they gave all the other wholesalers a terrible name. So yeah, that's something that things like this could help prevent, guys. So please take advantage of the tools that are out there to help yourselves look like a professional and keep our industry sound.
Yeah, that's really good advice. From your perspective, Natalie, like, if you hadn't worked with a wholesaler yet and you were trying to, build that relationship, like, what would you want from them? What would you want to see for you to feel comfortable to do business with them?
Well, that's a great question, because I just had that conversation with a new wholesaler, and I said, in order for me to really help you, I need you to understand the market. I need you to understand the value of the property that you are trying to get, because, of course, Sean is an expert and he can just say, oh, yeah, that's a $20,000 split off the top. Sure. But for someone who's new, they might sell themselves short or oversell themselves, being too ambitious and not understanding the numbers. So that data is really important to understand. I would want them to be able to break down these numbers and explain to me how they came to that solution. And I hate to sound like a math teacher, but at the end of the day, I mean, money is, bread on either side of the sandwich, as my dad says.
Really?
Money always makes sense. It has to, even out on both sides. So I would want them to know the numbers. And then I would also want them to be familiar with their contracts and how they want to structure the deal, right? Because there's so
Mhm.
many different ways you can structure it. Um, and then also, I'd want them to be in this type of market prepared to do earnest money. I would want that, because you have too many people willing to put up like $2,000-3,000 worth of earnest money right now. So if you're a wholesaler coming to the table, I would need to see something in good faith for my buyer to trust, me to work with you. So those
Right.
are my three big ones, I would say.
Yeah, and earnest money it can be a challenge for some people, who are just getting in the business. But if you're going to use this approach, and we're talking about how simple it can be, and look at these deals that we're finding, um, put you got to build a little bit of side cash to do these deals, right? You can't, everybody says, oh, none of your own money, and you're going to be rich in 2 months, and all the gurus, right? This is
Exactly.
a business that requires some cash. Okay. And whether you are investing that into, getting a website or bandit signs or some marketing, you know, if you really take it seriously and treat it like a business, you're going to have some money there that you can use to do deals. And it doesn't mean you have to buy these houses for yourself. And maybe you want to, right? I'm sure we've got a bunch of normal fix and flippers here. You're going to need a little bit of cash to make these deals go through. The other
And
thing,
guys,
go
just to
ahead.
touch on that, there's an inspection period. So you're saying, well, what do I mean? I've got to put my 2, 3,000. Listen, guys, that's earnest money, and that's for a particular time period if that's written into your agreements. So in my agreements, we have what's called the inspection period. So we have a time frame that we would inspect that property, quote unquote. Make sure that we get our buyers on board, and if for some reason we cannot, then that's when we back out, and that's when we're able to get our earnest money back before that time period based on the agreement. So just understand that, guys. It's not that you're giving that money away or just having money to just play with. You're going to put it up, but you'll get it back
Yep,
one way or
exactly.
the other. One way or the other.
Really
Right.
good point. Absolutely a great point. And that's where, again, where the value of an agent is so important when you're doing on market. It's because Natalie and her team are making sure all those deadlines are on point, right? If
Yeah.
you're getting close to the end of the inspection period and you haven't found a buyer yet, then she's going to say, listen, if you can't, if we pass this date, we're in the deal. If you think you can find a buyer, you got somebody who's there, but they just haven't signed the contract yet, we can go past that deadline, but you're actually going to be putting your earnest money in jeopardy. But for the most part, I mean, better safe than sorry, Natalie. Just get out of the contract, right, and get the earnest
Absolutely.
money back.
Yep, we had that happen a couple days ago, and I cannot stress enough to investors about understanding the timelines. You have your inspection period, you have your attorney review period, and then you have your mortgage contingency. So those three timelines, understanding how they affect your contract, can help you navigate with having to put down earnest money because, again, it's a competitive market.
And just a hint, not a hint, but maybe a tip, guys. Just once you guys get your cash buyers, list built up, so to speak, because you don't even have to really have a list built. If you're looking at what we're showing you right here, you can go in and pluck out cash buyers, guys. But what I'm going to say is, once you have a relationship with cash buyers that see that, hey, Sean's going to bring me deals, or Johnny, Sally, whoever's, they're bringing me deals, your cash buyers might even be willing and able to put up that money for you. But I'll caution you on that earnest money, that is. But I'm going to caution you on that. That means that you're almost bringing deals just to them, and whatever they want to pay you for that deal is what you're going to be getting for that deal. So it leaves little kind of negotiating, because they know for sure that it's being structured that way. So have some money to put down, guys, so that you can have a full full playing field to be able to negotiate with other buyers, so that you're not working for any particular cash buyer. You're working for yourself, providing deals for these cash buyers.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know we had talked about that before, but there's some people that are on this call that are thinking, I don't have the money to do this. Like, I can't do on market deals. You absolutely can. You just got to be creative, right? I said that entrepreneurs, we're hackers, right? We figure out solutions for deals. So that you can definitely make this work. So this house for you guys is a deal. So it's 11326 South Union. This house down here, we're going to send out with our marketing, and then we send it to the end buyer. And at that point, we either transfer control of the contract with the signability clause, or we're going to transfer control using the entity and the buy and sell clause in your operating agreement. Real simple. If Sean's correct, we could have made $20,000 on this deal if we can get it under contract, right? So this is all stuff that we can do, you guys. And I'm not a coach, I'm not a mentor. Sean is. He will teach you how to do this front to back. Natalie is an excellent
And I'll
teacher.
teach you how to do it using this software. So in conjunction with this software, guys. So not am I just going to teach you my way. My way has now become the new way. So this is how we do it now, guys. So all folks who come in my program, this is the way that you guys will be learning how to make money the right way.
Right. And Natalie will be there to help guide you if you're doing stuff in Chicago. If you're not in Chicago, we have other agents that we can introduce you to help you guide you through the process, right? And give your 2 cents and your expertise. And you're basically like a guidance counselor, right? Natalie, like, but financially.
Absolutely. And then also, not to deviate from what you're saying, but basically the mentorship side, right? Like, it's very important for me to include the human aspect, because at the end of the day, I'm sure Benson, you and Sean can also agree that burnout is real and there is so much out there. So sometimes you need to find your why, and working with individuals who one deal might change their entire family's position, or it'll put them, out of debt so that they can make other transitions into other, business moves. that to me is so important to be able to see. And we get to see that daily in the field of people making these, these sales and buys and purchases happen. So for me, it's really awesome to see this in real time and be able to explain it to other people and break it down, on that macro level so that they can really digest it. And it's cool. It's like the light bulb goes on. You get to see it.
Oh yeah. That aha moment, right?
Yeah.
So when we designed Privy, the whole point of it was to get, to help us scale our business so we can work with more clients. But as we've grown and now our goal is to help out the investment community on the whole, it's really about optimizing, creating systems that can help you be successful. And when we can basically eliminate 80% of the work right off the top, then you can spend your time doing money-making activities, right? That those 3 hours during the week, after work that you have, or the 4 hours on a Saturday, right? You want it all to be really valuable. You don't want to be pulling comps or, researching properties the whole time. Like, you should be writing offers and doing showings and going to closings. Like, that's where your time should be spent. So this is our goal. Now, we've got two experts here, right? And we also have people from all walks of life that are using Privy. So we got fix and flippers, wholesalers, buy and hold investors, all different experience levels, from somebody who's still looking to do their very first deal to people that have done hundreds of deals, can use and leverage this technology to be better. And, part of what we do is, making sure that they're success stories. Like whenever I do a demo, I sometimes put in there, like, my goal is to have you be my next testimonial. Right. And so Anthony is a fix and flipper. A wholesaler up in Chicago. And he was really bought into the off market scenario as well. And he just wasn't getting enough traction. And, the runway was coming to an end, but I convinced him that he could do on market. And so he's closed at least 6 deals, and anywhere from $3,000 to $15,000 on those assignment deals. And so, even if it was, 6 of them, 5 of them were 3,000 and one for 15, that's $30,000 in extra revenue for himself and for his family by doing this part-time. So Anthony is doing that. Johnny, he's a fix and flipper in Maryland. And he found his very first deal on Privy. We emailed it to him. He wrote an offer, got it under contract, closed, and made money. And who knows? We're all smart people. We'll probably figure it out over time. But remember, 3 to 4 months is what our roadmap is, our runway. And if you've done deals already, it's like, okay, what's the next level? How do you get to doing, 1 deal a month to 5 to doing 100 per year? It's all about leveraging technology. There's a person that we're talking to right now who is a buyer for one of the largest home acquisition companies in the entire US. And even the big guys have problems searching for deals. So even the professionals are using technology and doing on-market deals to get the deal flow that they need. And it's happening every day. So with Privy, you can go and you can sign up. It's $97 a month to month. There's no contracts or anything. And if you had Privy for a year, it'd be $1,200 basically, right? So I put together some special pricing and some bonuses for you. I'm going to bring over our Black Friday special that some people didn't have access to because of the holiday. But the first bonus is we have this expert interview pack. And actually, I'm gonna add both of you guys to this, because I think that having an interview with Sean in there about how he's doing business and how Natalie is will be valuable. So let's plan on doing that. And I know it'll be a benefit for us, for you guys as well. But I interviewed all these people and asked for their tips and tricks and all of the winning strategies they've used to become successful in real estate, and I give that to you guys for free. The next thing is support, right? So not everybody is a techie, right? Not everybody is comfortable using technology. You think, I can barely work my smartphone. How am I going to find hot deals leveraging algorithms, right? Like, maybe it sounds kind of overwhelming, but it's really very straightforward on the front end. It's just a series of check boxes and radio buttons and just putting your information in there. And then the system does all the work for you. Behind the scenes, it's extremely complicated. And the data, there's millions and millions of data points, but we make it easy. but we make sure that you have all the support you need to be successful. So we do, I put together this VIP onboarding and 360-degree support program, which includes one-on-one mentoring with me. We've got live training 2 days a week in a group setting. So this is Monday nights and Thursday afternoons. And then you can actually call and talk to me, you guys. Like most technology companies, they force you into email or chat support, and you go back and forth on chat or email for a week and you never get an answer. But you can call me and you can talk to me. So the next bonus is that when you first sign up for Privy, you have to choose a market. But again, with data and technology and all this really cool stuff going on and being able to do stuff virtually, we need to get you access to these other markets. So I'm going to give you those for free. All of our current markets and then all of our future markets as we launch them for no extra charge. The next thing is for anybody out there who's looking to do, rehabs, the time to learn that is not when you get a deal, right? Now is the time to kind of work your way up and start to learn the rehab process. And we got this book here from Ryan Garcilaso of the Rehab Depot, and it is just packed full of useful information that will help you get to the point where you can actually do a rehab and not go over budget, not go over time, and make sure you're actually hitting your numbers and get the ROI that you want. And that's just with, doing some research and some education. We're gonna give you that for free too. So let's kind of start to summarize this and wrap up. And I appreciate everybody hanging around here. So we're going to have the expert interviews, the VIP onboarding support, the master membership, the 150-page guidebook. And we're going to do that all for $698. It's like paying $58 a month, right? And think about what you spend your money on. I went to the store and I was just picking up a couple things. Next thing you know, is $200, and I barely had anything in my cart. I'm like, what is going on here? This is $58. And you saw some of the numbers we were looking at tonight, like the $20,000 assignment fee of a live deal that we had right on the screen that anybody can write an offer on. I mean, those are the kinds of things that you can accomplish with a very, very small investment. And there's no other business like this, you guys, where you can have that small an investment and have those kinds of returns. They just don't exist. But we still give you a 30-day money back guarantee. So there's no risk. I got another bonus here. And for those of you that are a little further along and you're looking for a way to kind of manage and track your portfolio, we're going to give you free access to Better Capital. Better Capital is a really cool online tool that you can put your portfolio into and make sure you're hitting your numbers, track all of your costs, your rents. And it's just a really awesome tool. And we're going to give you this for free. Actually, now you might have people who need this.
I do.
Yeah.
I've already given it. I think on our last call, I've done portfolio management and it gets kind of crazy. So it's best to start with a structure. When you have one property, build a blueprint, get familiar, and keep going. Because if you have, 5 or 6 properties, you have to import all the data, all the documents, get everybody on board. It takes time. So I tell investors, get this right away, get comfortable with it. If your goal is to grow your portfolio, you need a system in place, right? We're all about systems. So I absolutely loved it. I've checked it out. A couple of my people that just got their first property done, I said, all right, time to get your portfolio, blueprint started. And that's just really exciting because, you're getting your first one out the way and get to put the blueprint in place.
Absolutely. Well, this is a great tool for those of you that are doing that. And then for those of you that are doing the wholesale, we were talking earlier about building your buyers list, and that can be kind of an overwhelming thing. And for many wholesalers, it's what holds them back from writing offers is they just don't feel like if they found something, they'd have the ability to get rid of it with the buyers list. So we showed you some ways tonight how you can build your buyers list by tracking investor activity. But I'm also going to give you as a bonus tonight, 5,000 plus people on a buyers list nationally. It includes phone numbers, emails, it has addresses. It tells you exactly what kind of properties they're looking for. I've been building this for close to 8 years. It's extremely valuable. This by itself is worth, thousands of dollars. But I want to make sure you guys have what you need to get started and not sit on the couch anymore. I want you to get it off the couch and start doing deals. This is going to help you do that. So again, this is available if you take that annual plan package. Now, I know not everybody has, $698 in their budget, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't get started, right? If you're just getting started, you've got a small budget, $97 a month. I'm still going to give you the Rehab Depot guidebook. I also have some deal analysis calculators for you. And you're going to also get the better capital. And this comes with a 30-day money back guarantee too. So there's absolutely no reason. If you're serious about this business and you're not using Privy, there's something else going on there. I don't know what it is, but we talked about how important the data is, how important it is to have your ARVs nailed, the market intelligence, being able to understand the local market. I mean, it's priceless. So here's the promo code. I'm going to start to put the information into the chat, but Natalie, like from your perspective as an agent, like how do you see this technology changing how investors can be successful in this kind of weird, COVID-19 pandemic environment?
I definitely think it's the inside scoop that they need. It's the competitive edge for anyone who's investing, whether you're on the buy or sell side. You need to know what you're up against, and it's kind of like looking at somebody's cards at a playing table. You need to know what is your competition, how do I get in, what do I leverage, what can I leverage. If you're a seller, you need to look at what properties are selling in the area. For that project that took a really long time too, being able to see how long a project should take should give them a template for how long their project should have took, right? So
Absolutely.
those things will help you. If you see a property that took 240 days and another one took 300, and I think that one was like 380, that's a little concerning. So maybe they have issues with the zoning department, or if they have issues with the local municipal, just making that really difficult for them to develop. You have to keep that in mind. Okay, maybe that's not an area I should be working.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Smart.
no one property is going to give you the whole story, but when you start to be a student of the business, you learn these things. And with Privy, like when you first use it, there's some things, you have to figure out the landscape and where things are set up. And Sean, you've been going through this the last couple of weeks. Like, what is that learning curve like for you as someone who was the first time user and then getting familiar with it?
Well, it was a bit of a learning curve because I just had to unwind my thinking. That was really it. I just had to unwind why I was looking at the data, how I was going to approach it. Instead of looking for leads that I could pull out of the system, it's like, let's look for deals that I can make offers on. And it's a different process, guys. It's a different ball game. Trust me, guys. And you can have a lot of success. A lot of us have had success, and I'm sure we'll continue to have success doing it the off market way. I won't say anything other than the off market way, but this is definitely a method that is going to be. It's proven. It's a proven method. And just considering how laws and things are changing in our country, I definitely think having a tool like this is going to put you ahead of the ball game, or ahead of the eight ball, so to speak, so that you're not caught in a predicament where you're only focused on your local market, and all of a sudden things have changed so dramatically that you don't know what to do. This opens the game, the playing field up for you.
Yeah, it's true. We all need an edge. We all need a way to get ahead of the competition. This tool will definitely help you. It doesn't do everything though. Like what Natalie was saying earlier, like you have to have a strong why. We could give you that property tonight. There's going to be people on here that aren't even thinking about writing an offer on it, right? Maybe because it's in Chicago, but if there's people that are afraid to take action because their why isn't big enough. And, I would urge you to try Privy out, because I know it's going to work for you, but you have to put in the work. You have to be willing to, take your Saturday and look for properties. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable and submit that first offer and feel confident in those numbers, and then send it to your agent, or if it's an off market deal and you're you're going to submit it to the seller. But this is definitely something that will help you along. I would definitely urge you to try it. There's 100% money back guarantee. I'm going to be here to help you every step of the way. I want you to consider me an extension of your team, because I will help you. If you've got questions about, the Privy itself, if you got a deal you want to get a second pair of eyes on, bring it to one of the trainings or give me a call here in the office. I definitely
with this crown on my head, I'm seated on the throne. The top is so alone. Only thing that keeps me going is I know my city love me. I know my city love me. I know my city love me. I know my city love me.